TTK Prestige has reported numbers. It seems like it's a mixed bag. There has been some pressure on their margins, and their exports have also declined quite sharply. But let's understand the outlook for the second half of the year. Mr. Venkatesh, MD of TTK Prestige, now joins us. Venkatesh, good morning, happy Diwali, happy New Year. Just let's talk about how the quarter has been and what's the outlook going ahead. Despite a 3% increase in revenue, EBITDA decreased by 10%. Margins have dropped from 11.1 to 9% in this quarter. I do understand that there is some pressure on back of higher raw material prices. You want to give me a sense of are there any other reasons why there's been a drop in margins? And going into the second half of the year, how do you plan to mitigate rising raw material cost?
Good morning, happy Diwali and a happy festive season ahead. Yeah, we've seen sort of a rebound of top line happening. On the cost side, there have been pressures from the raw material and packing material pricing. There's been sort of a sharp ramp up that's happened in the last quarter. We believe it's consolidating, but the impact of that is to be felt as the year moves ahead. We focus more on mitigating this cost through internal cost re-engineering, focused on automation in terms of manufacturing. Some of our plants are getting automated and digitized, and that should hopefully mitigate a little bit of the cost as we move forward. We've also been investing in sort of strategic initiatives, ramping up our R&D costs, and that probably also has a little bit of impact on the costs as you look at. Overall, we do believe that as we move ahead, the market is sort of bouncing back, and that should help us as we consolidate our costs, and that should give us a way forward that's looking much more better.
Venkatesh, margins has been a concern, and hopefully it does settle as we go into the second half. Exports have also declined substantially, 26% year on year. Can you talk to us about what the challenges are in the international market, and also what can we expect going into the next few quarters? Are you expecting exports to rebound? And has the problems been geography specific, or has it been more broad-based in terms of the decline that we've seen on exports?
It's been broad-based, and one of the key reasons is for the macroeconomic situation outside the country today. A combination of logistics, a combination of freight availability. Orders are robust. We do see that the orders coming in are robust, but supplying them and fulfilling the orders has been a concern. And that's one of the reasons that you see exports being a little subdued than what it should be. Would it bounce back? I think it's going to take some time, primarily because of the macroeconomic situation. As that improves and availability of freight support increases, we should be able to sort of supply better. But we do believe that overall the robustness of the demand is something that we're starting to see. Quarter two, we've seen a good demand in terms of exports. Fulfilling them is becoming a challenge.
Mr. Venkatesh, hi, Tamanna here. I'm just wondering how you are looking at the pressure coming from e-commerce as a method of people buying. Is this something that you think gets worse going forward, and what is the outlook that you're seeing? This was, what has festive been like for you, and is the outlook now looking better in terms of consumption?
So if you want to look at from e-commerce perspective, e-commerce is one of the fast-growing channels as far as the industry is concerned, and TTK Prestige in particular. The demand has been fueled by the ability to fulfill demand in the Tier 2, Tier 3 towns. So there's a geographical expansion that's leading the e-commerce growth, which I think is good as we move forward. There have been pressures in terms of pricing, which is sort of being now controlled. And we do believe that a good mix of general trade and e-commerce would be helping us to grow much faster. E-commerce and quick commerce are two channels that are sort of growing fast compared to the general trade. And that, I think, would continue to happen as the channels, as the e-commerce players expand into Tier 2, Tier 3 towns.
Right.
Okay. What is the kind of outlook that you're seeing now on margins, sir? Are you expecting commodity prices and input prices to go on impacting you, and do you see margins at least improving by the end of the financial year?
There is pressure on pricing in terms of raw material and packing material. That continues to be on the higher side. Mitigation efforts are on, but that pressure, in my view, would continue through the year.
Right. Venkatesh, a couple of things that we want to get an understanding from, right? From what we understand, the trade channel is also experiencing some pressure from e-commerce platforms. And I believe that is another, while revenue has seen an uptick, that could be something that becomes a concern going ahead. Are you adopting your sales distribution network, implementing e-commerce? Because the smaller players are largely based there, right?
Yeah, as I said, e-commerce is one of the fast-growing channels.
How
We need to
much
have
has it grown, Venkatesh, and how much will it improve your revenue in the second half of the year? If you can quantify that, that would be useful.
it has been upwards of 20% across for the industry. So we do believe that growth continues to happen for the e-commerce channel. Uh, However, having said that, I think it's important to balance both the channels because general trade continues to lead the expansion of the industry into geographies. It leads into numerical distribution expansions. So we, as a company, we focus on balancing both general trade and e-commerce in a very smooth manner. Pricing is a very critical element of this game, and that's something that we tend to control along with our e-commerce partners. So one channel would not grow at the cost of the other. While consumption definitely, yes, is moving towards the e-commerce channels, particularly in the towns, we do believe that the general trade will ramp up faster as they move, consolidate, and that should help growth as we continue to invest in both the channels.
Mr. Vijayaraghavan, good morning, Neeraj here. The sound bites that are coming in from various consumption companies about what the Indian consumer is doing are perplexing in some fashion, simply because some companies have gone out and said that they've experienced a rural revival, but it's difficult to call that whether it's sustainable or no. Likes of Pidilite have said that they've seen rural doing well for the last 2 quarters, and therefore it doesn't surprise them. You've kind of focused on premiumization. So I would love to understand from you, what is your belief about what the rural consumer is doing versus what the urban consumer is doing? And would it be idiosyncratic to you because you are focusing on premiumization, or would that hold true for the entire sector in which you are present in?
So I think we need to look at it as two bits. Premiumization definitely is happening at one end of the market. However, as I mentioned, there is another end of the market, which is a mass market that continues to keep growing as well. So India is actually witnessing sort of a dichotomous situation where there is a premiumization happening at the top end. There's a substantial growth that's happening at the mass market end, driven by, in particular in this category, driven by tier 2, tier 3 adoption very fast. So I tend to believe that the two opportunities are independent of each other and need to be addressed by a very different go-to-market that companies would adopt. This category in particular, and TTK Prestige focuses on both the ends, and we are therefore adding on to a mass portfolio as well as we move forward. Our mass brand is doing well, and we do believe that both the opportunities are presenting themselves for a scale-up as we move forward. The concern, however, has been in rural, which is beyond the urban towns. If I were to look at beyond the top two, tier 3 towns, I do see that there is a little bit of a demand weakness that is there today, and that is something that probably is also impacting us in the current quarter numbers. As you look at, we've been serving rural through a different model, and there's been a challenge of demand from deep rural, as I would call it, beyond the towns. That is something that is a challenge that we see in the industry, and we see in particular.
Okay, and would you believe that's holding true only for your industry? Because one of the large FMCG companies apparently said that there is no middle class now, per se, to cater to. In some sense, the middle class has gone absent. I mean, what's your sense there?
So if I were to look at it from the lens of segmentation, I think there's a very sharp segmentation that's happening. Therefore, the earlier scenario of taking a mid path sometimes for brands do not exist today. The segmentation is actually therefore making brands to be very sharply focused on premium, mass premium, and the mass market as well. So a mid path of catering to some part of the top segment, some part of the middle segment, that I think is vanishing as an opportunity today. So I wouldn't say middle class is vanishing. I think the segmentation and the consumption patterns are getting diverse, that each opportunity is actually becoming unique by itself. So companies which have brands, which have a portfolio of brands which cater to multiple segments, have a sharper opportunity to grow faster.
Mr. Venkatesh, just wanted to know about, you're sitting on about 850 crores of cash. What are your plans to deploy this? What is the kind of strategic outlook now for the rest of the financial year?
So we've sort of engaged with some external partners to evaluate these opportunities at this point of time. As we move forward, we will have a sharper view and a framework on where do we sort of look at some of these acquisition opportunities. But long term, we do believe that acquisition opportunities are an integral part of a growth strategy as we move forward. You would get to see some of those opportunities pan out maybe a couple of quarters down the line.
No, so just to reiterate and simplify that, there are acquisition opportunities you are actively looking at right now.
No, we are not actively pursuing at this point of time, but we do believe that we would come back with a very strong framework to look at some of these opportunities.
Okay. So it is on the horizon, maybe 2 quarters
It's
down.
on the horizon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.